Hey guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today we are back with another recent reads. Now this has been a slower reading month for me. This is probably one of the slowest reading months I've had this year, but that is because at the beginning of the month I went on vacation. If you guys have been following my community post here on YouTube, I posted a picture of me while I was in Alaska. So I ended up taking a 7-day cruise to Alaska with some friends and family, and I had an amazing time. It is a trip that has been on my bucket list for years. For some reason, anytime I asked anybody if they wanted to go to Alaska on a cruise, everybody told me no. I think it's because everybody is kind of put off by the weather. We luckily had amazing weather while we were there. It was only one day where it was like 40 degrees, it was raining, it was windy, but outside of that, every other day that we were there, fantastic. Also, I do want to mention our first day on the boat, it was a wild ride because we had a medical emergency on the boat. And so we had to kind of like turn back because we left out of Seattle. So we had to like turn back so that I guess they were close enough to helicopter this person off of the boat who was having a medical emergency. I'm not sure what happened, but it really scared me because as soon as they like came over the announcements, I just knew in my soul they were about to say something like we had to be quarantined on the boat or something. So my emotions were running high that day, but everything was fine. I think that person is fine. Didn't get any updates, but outside of that craziness, the trip was amazing. If you guys have been thinking about going to Alaska, I would highly recommend. But today, I don't have very many books to talk about. I only have 9. 3 of those books I have actually already talked about. I posted a video last week about these 3 books specifically, so I'll kind of fly through those. And then the rest of these books, I only have 1 4-star read. The rest of them I thought were fine. Of course, I have a DNF in there. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So the first 3 books that I want to talk about, I talked about these in my video that I posted last week. And that is a part of a video series that I have started on my channel that I'm actually just bringing back this year. But that is where I read 3 books that either have like the same title, the same plot, or they're by the same author. And I kind of tell you guys which one is better. The first book that was a part of that video is My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. So all of the books that I read for that video, they have the same title and the plots are very similar. And I was really excited to pick this one up specifically because everybody has been raving about it. So in this one, just a quick synopsis, this follows this woman, Eden, and she goes out for a run. She's married. She comes back to the house. Another woman answers the door claiming to be her husband's wife. Eden is left in shambles and the story just kind of takes off from there. I gave this one 2 stars. The next one that was a part of that video, this is also My Husband's Wife. This is by Carla Kovach. And so in this one, we're following our main character, Eva, and her husband died years prior. She is in another relationship. They decide to move to a new town to kind of like start over, help her grieving process. She is a wedding planner. So when she starts her new job, she meets her very first couple. And the man in that couple looks exactly like her deceased husband. Of course, she is sent spiraling, and then the story just kind of takes off from there. I also gave this one 2 stars. The last book that I read for that video, another My Husband's Wife, this is by Anya Mora. And so in this one, we're following this woman, and she finds out that her husband has died in a tragic trucking accident, and his name was Ledger. So, of course, she's dealing with that. Then she gets this random knock on the door one day, and this woman is there, and she says that this woman's husband, Ledger, is actually her husband, whose name is Henry, I think. And so then the story just kind of takes off from there. Out of the 3 books, this one is the one that I enjoyed the most, but I still only gave it 3 stars. So if you guys would like to know my full thoughts over each of these books, I will have the link to that video down below so that you guys can check that out. But yeah, that video wasn't as successful as I thought it was going to be. So moving on to my other books that you guys have not heard me talk about yet, we're gonna unfortunately start with my DNF because this wouldn't be a recent reads if I didn't have one. So we have The Secret Lives of Murderers' Wives by Elizabeth Arnott. This is a book that I was sent from the publisher Berkeley. I was really excited about this one. I had heard positive reviews. I haven't really seen too many people talk about it, but from people who have talked about it, they really enjoyed it. I did not. So this one follows 3 women, and this is back in like the 1960s, I think. Yeah, this doesn't say here. I'm pretty sure it's like the 1960s. And these women were married to men that were serial killers. And so each of them, they're part of this friend group. They kind of bonded over that. I think like 2 of the women's husbands are in jail. One of the women's husband, I think, had passed away, but nonetheless, they're friends. Once the story starts to kind of get going, we find out that other women have been murdered, and then these 3 women have banded together to try to figure out who killed these women. I only made it 106 pages in. I stopped at chapter 15. To be honest, I was just seriously bored. This is more of a character-driven story, which is not really what I was expecting going into it. It's fine. I like character-driven stories, but I really have to be sold on the characters to enjoy it, obviously. And I did not really care for any of these women. It talked a lot about their, I guess, experience with their husbands who were serial killers and how that like affected them in the aftermath of it. I was starting to get invested once these other women were found murdered, but then we would just jump back to these 3 women and like their experiences, and I just did not care. So I decided to put this one down. Now this next one I do not have a physical copy of, and this is also another one that I was really excited to pick up, but this is Adrift by Will Dean. This is a thriller. I received an ARC from NetGalley. I am really behind on my ARCs. This is already out and published, but I just now got around to reading it, and I was really excited to pick up something from this author because generally I've been hearing a lot of good things about their books, and so because I got approved for the ARC, I was like, well, this is a good place to start. We're following this family, so this husband and wife and their son, and they live on a canal boat. I still can't wrap my head around how this works because the boat isn't necessarily docked, it's just floating, I guess, but it's like floating close enough to the shore where they can get on and off of the boat. I don't know. That's how I was picturing it in my head. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways, they live on this canal boat. The husband and wife, they are authors, and they're both trying to get their books published. The wife comes home one day and she's saying that her book got picked up. This angers the husband. We are told from the beginning that this guy is not good. He is very abusive, mentally abusive, and not only to his wife, but also to his son. We also learned very early on that the son is being bullied terribly at school. So it's just bad all around. But basically the premise of the story is that this husband is moving this canal boat further and further up the shore, and he's tormenting his family more and more. That's it. I'm not sure I would categorize this as a thriller. It is really a slow-paced story, and it's really just about how awful this husband is to his family. And I was not shocked by anything that was happening, and I'm not sure we were supposed to be shocked by anything. Like, there's a situation that happens to her, there's some stuff that happens to like a neighbor, and it's just like everything that happens, I'm just like, yeah, that checks out, that sounds about right. Yes. Like, nothing about this is shocking to me. And so when I think about everybody's reviews who like raved about this book specifically, I'm just not exactly sure what it was that I missed about it, but I literally thought it was fine. It did not do anything for me. Yes, I felt bad for the wife and the son, but I think you were supposed to. I think I would have felt differently if like maybe we weren't exactly sure how awful the husband was, and maybe that was like something that's revealed like slowly throughout the story. But it's kind of like from page one, he was a douchebag. So it was like nothing, I don't know, nothing really shocked me about this. And honestly, it took me a long time to read. This was like one of the books I decided to take with me on vacation for whatever reason, because I thought, I don't know, this will put me in the vacation mood. But it took me a couple weeks to finish it. I also tried to listen to it on audio because I started trying to read it after it was already published. I saw that an audio book was available, so I tried to pick it up on audio, and that didn't really work for me because there was two narrators, one for the son and one for the wife, because those are the POVs that we get in the story. And the narrator for the son was fine, but then for the wife, anytime that she was talking, like she had a really soft voice, and I think it was supposed to convey like how, I don't know, soft-spoken she was and maybe how meek she was. But every time that POV came on, I would have to adjust the volume because I couldn't hear the narrator because they were so soft-spoken, and it was so irritating. And I almost DNF'd it, but I was like, no, let me just read it physically because it's probably just the narrators that's bothering me, but I still didn't really like it. So I settled on 2 stars for that one. Moving on to my 3-star read. So the first one is another audiobook that I listened to. This is The Swamps by Serafina Nova Glass. This is a thriller with a little bit of horror elements. So I was able to listen to a audio copy from Libro FM through their influencer program. And so in this one, we follow this group of people who are ghost hunters, and they have a paranormal ghost hunting show on YouTube, and they decided to go to the Louisiana swamps to kind of look for ghosts, but also try and solve the disappearance of these 2 women with the hopes of getting picked up for a Netflix show. So of course they go to Louisiana, and some strange things starts happening, and they think something more sinister is behind the disappearance of these women. This was fine. It didn't do anything special. Again, I was not shocked by anything. This was a super short read, or listen, I should say. I think the book is actually maybe only like 200 pages, so the audiobook was like 3.5 hours. I listened to it very quickly at work one day, and so I was entertained. I do like any stories that have to do with like ghost hunters. I think they're pretty entertaining, and while I don't think this did anything like out of the ordinary or super shocking, I was entertained while I was listening to it. And I would recommend, if you guys want a shorter thriller to pick up or something quick to listen to, you should probably check this one out. Another 3-star read that I have is another arc that I have from NetGalley. That is The Anniversary by Alex Finlay. This is also already published. So this one follows 2 main characters. We have Jules and we have Quinn. And the book starts off in 1991. They are in high school, and there is a event that happens to both of them. And we know at the beginning of the story that there is this killer that kills women or kidnaps women every year on May 1st, and they have dubbed this person the May Day Killer. And so these events happen to our main characters, Quinn and Jules, and it's somehow connected to this May Day Killer. And so every few chapters, we fast forward to another year on May 1st. So this book spans like 10 years, but we're only following these characters on May 1st. And you're just kind of trying to figure out who is this killer and how are both of these characters tied to them. This is my second book that I read from Alex Finlay. And while I don't think their books do anything like exceptionally well for me, I do find them entertaining, and I do find myself flying through them. I did like both of the main characters, especially Quinn, because they both deal with a lot of trauma. Let's put that out there. They both deal with a lot of trauma, but I feel like I connected more with Quinn because he dealt with like a lot of loss in his life at such a young age. Again, remember, this starts when they're in high school. And so I really felt for his character. I also kind of liked how both of these characters, we kind of follow them separately, but there are things that happen throughout the story where each of these characters are kind of like pulled back to each other, and I really kind of like that. So I will say there's like a hint of a romance that I appreciated in this story. I also thought that this had a really good pacing. I liked how the timeline was told and how we're getting the story just on every year on May 1st. And I did kind of think the ending was a little predictable. I kind of was able to put the pieces together on what was happening. But I do think if I wasn't able to guess what was happening, I probably would have rated this higher. But nonetheless, I enjoyed this and I will look forward to whatever else this author puts out. So then the last 3-star read that I have here, this is a adult horror. This is Molka by Monica Kim. I was really excited to pick this one up because I have heard nothing but rave reviews for this book. And they wrote another book. Let me find out what that was. The Eyes Are the Best Part, that also got rave reviews. I want to say that one came out last year. And so when I saw that Book of the Month had this one, I was really excited and I wanted to get it. This story revolves around Molkas. And let me read you the definition because it's the first thing on here. So it says Molka, an abbreviation of mole ray camera, a sneaky camera hidden to capture covert images and videos for voyeurs. So in this one, we are following our main character who has found themselves in a bit of a predicament. She ended up dating this really rich guy. They were being intimate, and that was filmed on one of these hidden cameras, and it was shared on the internet, and it was this huge scandal. So she is dealing with the fallout of that and kind of trying to figure out her next steps and just trying to figure out what to do because of all the attention this has gained. We also follow one of her coworkers who is a really not good person. He has set up these like hidden cameras in the women's bathroom, and he has been watching the women in the bathroom. And he ties into her story because he kind of becomes like obsessed with her, and he gets wrapped up in like this revenge plot she has for the situation she's going through. So through all that, there's also some horror elements that have been thrown into the story as well. I can't really put my finger on why this did not connect with me, but for some reason, I just don't feel like it's more than 3 stars. I did like the plot of the story. I will say it did take me a little bit to get into the story, but once things started kind of picking up, I was invested. I liked the horror elements that we got in here as well. I also just liked the commentary around the use of mochas. This story takes place in South Korea, and this is an issue that I did not know was a widespread issue there, and how of course there aren't a lot of repercussions and consequences for the people who are putting these mochas and putting these women in like these compromising situations. So I really appreciated the talk around that. I also just felt like this is one of those stories, because it deals with like hidden cameras, it's gonna make you very uncomfortable. It at times made me infuriated, especially with a lot of the male characters in this book. And it's just a story that kind of opens up your eyes to this world of like hidden cameras that I just was not aware of. However, like I said, for some reason, even though I liked all of that, this just did not really hit for me. Now, even though I'm not rating this higher than 3 stars, I did enjoy it. And I do want to pick up Eyes Are the Best Part. I'm really curious about that one, especially because people really raved about that one as well. But this was fine for me. The last book that I have, this is my 4-star read, and this is The Summer Girlfriend by Christina Forrest. This is a adult romance. This is an arc. This is an arc that I actually read before it was published. So this is not published until June 9th. But in this one, we are following our main characters, Jeremiah and Noelle. So Noelle is working at a bookstore. She's not really making a lot of money, and she's basically trying to save money so that she can go back to college and get her bachelor's degree, because there was like a situation that happened where she was actually kicked out of school. So she's trying to get herself together. But how she makes extra money on the side is like, she is a bridal bestie. So people will hire her to fill in as like a bridesmaid in these weddings, and that's how she's able to make extra money. So in comes Jeremiah. He actually meets her at the bookstore, which is actually when she gets fired from the bookstore. So technically that's like her last day. They kind of get to talking. She tells him about her job as a bridal bestie, and he thinks this is a good time to ask her if he can pay her to be his girlfriend for when he goes back home to Hart Beach to spend the summer with his family. Now, when it comes to Jeremiah, he is part of a really prominent family. They own this, it's called Smith Sweets. It's like a bakery that has kind of like blown up, and they're really wealthy. And he no longer works as a part of the company. There's like some family drama surrounding that. But because Noelle is in a tough situation, she agrees. But at the very start of the story, you can obviously tell that these two are very attracted to each other. So it wasn't very hard for her to say yes. So they go to the beach, and feelings kind of spark, and the story just kind of like takes off from there. I actually really liked Jeremiah and Noelle's relationship. I especially liked Noelle because I like that no matter what was happening, no matter her feelings for Jeremiah, she was dead set on her goals, and yes, that is how it's supposed to be. And I really liked her and appreciated her character for that. I also will say there is a little bit of family drama in here, and y'all know I love drama and I love mess, and this did not disappoint. I was here for that as well. I was nervous because this is a chunky little romance book. It's almost 400 pages, and I get a little nervous when romance books are so long, because I start to wonder, like, what are we doing? Like, why is this book so long? But I ended up flying through this one. I was enjoying it so much. And I think this is the perfect summertime read. They're at the beach. There's a boardwalk. There are so many like fun summer activities that the characters do. So this is definitely a romance that I would recommend to you guys for the summertime. If you are already a fan of Christina Forrest, she has a romance series that she put out following different sisters. I cannot think of what that series is called. I'll leave it down on the screen. But if you like that, I would definitely suggest that you guys pick this one up. I had a fun time. So those are all the books that I wanted to share with you guys. If you have read any of these, please let me know your thoughts down below. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.